Good day, everyone. You're on the channel of Planners in a Pod with your host Shilvala. In this episode 1, we'll look at a deep reflection on the interplay of spatial planning tools, informality, and urban management. So, I wanted to do a deep reflection on why I'm doing this and the reasoning for it, and why I'm specifically looking at the city of Johannesburg and how informality and the lack of urban management has grown in particular areas. And then I want to explain how the spatial planning tools have been integrated and applied. This is by looking at policies, by looking at spatial development frameworks, and South Africa's land use scheme, SPLOOMS, and the Act SPLOOMA, which is Spatial Planning Land Use Management Act of 2013. So, urban planning has faced the challenges of being practiced. This could be seen when SPLOOMA has been implemented and where there's this constraint where development in particular parts of an area is unable to develop. But also, if we think about it, there's also the growing of informality in terms of street trading, street marketing, informal settlements, and the taxi industry that I could think of. The things on how to fix that and how we use spatial planning tools to formalize areas where informality is occurring. But also we need to think about how we need to create this mediation between the two groups, between the formal and informal sector, and that one makes it challenging. If reflecting on the shaping of the city of Johannesburg, it faces the issues of inequality and spatial inequality, and that is because there is this division between the rich and the poor, and the rich and the poor being located next to each other. For example, we have Sandton City and Waterfall City, which is a rich upper market area, and next to it is Alexandra, which is a poor informal township. And then it's the informal townships located on the peripheries that creates the spatial inequality. In terms of urban management, if we look at our CBD and old towns that has not been maintained over the years, which results in urban congestion in terms of activity and movement, and also the lack of infrastructure being implemented, and the crimes that is growing in those townships. So breaking this down, these questions that could be asked is, why am I looking at this, and what outcome am I trying to achieve in this case? And as an urban planner like myself, trying to achieve the issues of urban management and informality around the city of Johannesburg. So I need to do a reflection on myself and understand as a whole, why am I doing this? Could be also now looking at the issues in our system, in the way our country, South Africa, has been running. This outcome, it could also be seen through the lack of governance. This is through corruption, where we currently face a deep economic decline, and poor people ending up becoming even poorer, and therefore many of them rely on the informal sectors because it is affordable for them. And like I mentioned, for urban management, crime in areas has increased, where people's safety is uncertain. As planners, we can rezone areas to deal with urban issues and maintain the urban fabric. We can implement and rezone applications for safety by providing police stations, hospitals. We can include that in many of our proposals, in our SDF, but it is also the matter of convincing others. And how do we want them to be involved? And how do we prove to them with using our voices? How do we represent these issues by representing data to them? So yes, we have the land use applications drawn and these detailed spatial development plans that applies data, that provides for sustainability and resilient towns. But if we do not have a voice, we are unable to convince others, such as municipalities and stakeholders, that these are the issues occurring and that they therefore cannot be neglected. But also it can be ignored. So it really comes to how we need to do spatial planning and how we need to implement it. These stakeholders are not interested in resilient towns and sustainability. They could be more focused on market-led development, and this is an issue mainly it causes further marginalization. Therefore, poor people will continue to rely on the informal sectors, and old and poor townships will continue to lack in urban management. But also those who want to be involved should have that expectation of wanting plans, policies to be implemented in the physical environment and wanting it done immediately. So I decided to listen to a podcast called The Hidden Brain with the host of Shankar Vendatam, as he discusses the challenges of expectations, where scientists are innovative with ideas, but it's the external parties that are involved that have this expectation of wanting these ideas to be done directly. This also links to what planners face, and is a challenge as external stakeholders have that expectation, wanting these solutions done immediately without actually looking at what the problems are and how we could deal with them as a start. But in The Hidden Brain, the host indicates that there is a process and that methods need to be done in order for the idea to be accomplished. It's the same in planning, especially using spatial planning tools. We need to ensure that our SDFs are in line with policies, aligned with the regulations, and that the spatial tools are documents, but those documents implement the process that needs to be considered. And that's a problem, because if we have external stakeholders wanting us to jump to the solution will not work. The process does take time, and we need to ensure that the process is feasible for spatial planning to succeed and development to occur. And these are the challenges that planners face. So this is what I'm trying to do in this podcast, is to understand why am I trying to stress the issues of how spatial planning should be applied, how it can be applied. So thank you for listening to my first podcast on the interplay between spatial planning tools, informality, and urban management, and I hope you continue to listen on my next episode, where I'll be looking specifically at informality impacting the urban environment in terms of street rain, and how urban identity can be retained by using spatial planning tools. Hope you join us on the next episode. I hope to see you on Planners in the Pod. Thank you.